Hi everyone and a warm welcome to today's video. This lesson is all about personification and it comes from today's Free Lesson Friday. Let's go. My name's Amy, I'm a master's level qualified teacher and I teach live online lessons and courses. This lesson today was taught live via Zoom to a group of children and I'm going to go through what we did. So we started off the class by looking, as always, at my fishbowl, and the children were invited to draw on the screen or write on the screen a word to do with spring, so a spring word. And I'd like you to think of one now if you can. The children shared lots of words in the lesson. We had verbs, blooming, we had nouns, different kinds of flowers, we had lots of things. By the end of today's lesson, the children had written a personification poem and were able to explain what personification is. And we're going to use daffodils to talk about that in this review lesson. Firstly, a couple of facts about daffodils then. So I'm going to show some and you can have a little read through. Perhaps there's some facts that you already knew there, or maybe you know other facts about daffodils that I haven't mentioned. You can write them in the comments below. Another interactive part of the lesson was sharing some nouns and verbs that we can give to flowers or daffodils. The children came up with lots of different nouns. Here are some, and some verbs as well. Others were able to give adjectives and also adverb. So what is personification? Well, quite simply, the clue is in the word person. It's giving an object or a thing a human quality or a human characteristic. So, for example, the leaves danced on the wind. Okay, the leaves don't actually dance. They're not got arms and legs. They're not kind of raving away there, but they're moving around. And the reason why people use personification is to give that reader a little bit more of a good way of imagining what's happening. The focus of today's lesson was this lovely personification poem. This really makes me imagine daffodils as little people. Whenever I go walking and I see daffodils, I always think about them as little people and I always want to have a conversation with them. And it's this poem that makes me feel like that. So it's called Daffodowndilly and it's by A. Milne. You can pause the video and have a read through. She wore a yellow sunbonnet, she wore her greenest gown. She turned to the south wind and curtsied up and down. She turned to the sunlight and shook her yellow head and whispered to her neighbour, "Winter is dead." Let's have a look at some of that key vocabulary then. We've got the daffodil here wearing a yellow sunbonnet. Okay, so this is a bonnet. This is not a sun bonnet. This is more of a wintertime bonnet. So a bonnet is something that like a baby might wear or maybe an older person, and it ties around here. Okay, and this is a winter one, keeps your head warm. A summer one may even have like a floppy peak on it here. And that is just like the petals around the outside of the daffodil. Her greenest gown. So a gown is a kind of another old-fashioned word that means dress. So this bit would be talking about the stalk, maybe the leaves as well. She turned to the south wind and she curtsied up and down. So turn to the direction of the wind, maybe to feel that wind on her cheeks and curtsied up and down. So this is an example of a curtsy like you might do to royalty. She turned to the sunlight and shook her yellow head and whispered to her neighbour, "Winter is dead." So let's see if you can spot any of the personification in this poem. If you can jot it down on a piece of paper or you can write it in the comments. So the first thing that makes me think that this is a personification poem is the slight change of the word daffodil here. Dilly makes me think that it kind of like is a bit of a feminine word. It could be a person. It is a slight change on the name, and we've got this pronoun she, and that's used throughout, isn't it? So it really makes this flower seem like a person. So we've got her wearing a yellow sunbonnet and a greenish gown. Obviously these are things that humans wear, not people. She's turning into the wind, curtsying up and down. That really is a very human action. turning to the sunlight, shaking her head, and whispering. Obviously, flowers don't whisper. Live in the lesson, we spent a little bit of time gathering some more words that are personifying words. So human verbs, human actions, and human nouns or human things that we could put to the flower and we could attribute to the flower in our poem. If you know any more, please jot them down on your piece of paper because you can use them in your poem. During the final part of the lesson, we wrote a personification poem. We had a go of doing some together, and then the children worked independently to do their own. It was really important that they don't worry about punctuation. It's not a punctuation lesson. With poems, there kind of isn't really any hard and fast rule about punctuation anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'd rather words were spelt wrong, but be really adventurous. So rather than shying away from using a word that is maybe a higher level word that you don't know how to spell, have a go. Doesn't really matter if you don't get the spelling right. And we focused in on a really good quality sentence, 1 or 2 quality sentences, rather than having a big, long poem. So just a few personifying sentences. The children used loads of different flowers. We had snowdrops, bluebells, sunflowers, lots of different kinds. We even had roses. Just a little reminder that we're having a little break for Easter. Free Lesson Friday will be back on April 21st. Meanwhile, you can join English Stars. We meet on the 12th and the 14th of this month. Membership is only £15 a month. Free Lesson Friday will always be free, but if you would like more, then feel free to join our English Stars class. There's nothing I like more than seeing your work. So if you were in the lesson today, this morning, or you have watched this video and you've been inspired to write a poem about a flower using personification, please feel free to type it in the comments or to send it to me via my Facebook page. The link is in the description. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.